Rev up your engines! Most people know I'm not a fan of BMWs. Too much technology, too much plastic. Believe it or not, here's one that Scotty likes. It's a classic. It's a 1987 325i Cabriolet. Convertible, in other words. Now, this one has 180,000 miles and it still runs like a clock. Back in the day, they built them good in Deutschland. This is a 1987. It has not been repainted. The paint still pops. As to the top, it folds down, and actually, it's not in that bad shape underneath here. I just have it up because it looks better with the top down. The stock BMW wheels, check them out. They're still in excellent shape. The leather. Now, they're faded, you can dye it, and you can polish it, make it look like new. You can see the back seats weren't used much. If you can get one cheap enough, you can have a lot of fun. This one was recently purchased for under $5,000. And check it out. Starts right up. Like I said, BMW used to make great cars. Now, as we look under the hood, this is what they're known for. One, they open backwards. It makes them easier to work on. And they're known for long life. Nice, torquey, straight, 6-cylinder gasoline engine. And is there a bunch of cheap plastic stuff? No. Yeah, the radiator's got plastic side tanks and aluminum core. Plastic crap that breaks cost a fortune to fix. And these old engines. This one's got 180, it's pushing 200,000. Does it burn oil? No. Does it backfire? No. Straight pipe. Yeah, we revved it up, no backfires. One solid engine. Now, it's not a race car. It's got 168 horsepower and 167 pound-feet of torque. At least it started out with that. It's in a relatively small car. They're not going for giant top speed. It does 133 miles an hour, but it's fun driving it around. And really, do you need to even go 130 miles an hour? As for the transmission, it's got a 4-speed ZF. Austrian transmission. Now, this is an old car, so you youngsters, you're not going to have any idea what this is. But this is a cassette holding machine. So you can have your music cassettes, then stick them in the radio. Well, the original radio is long gone. It's now got an aftermarket Bluetooth one in. All that stuff is long gone. Now, cassettes would melt in the sun. They jam, play fast or slow. I remember one time I was so mad, I was listening to some music and it just got jammed in. I pulled it out and all the tape stuck in it. I just threw it out the window. I know I was a bad boy, but I was so mad at it that was the end of that cassette, right? Well, we really don't have to worry about those things these days. Though strangely enough, my wife's Lexus still has a factory cassette player. Check it out. But that, alas, was more of a business decision. Lexus knew their businessmen drove a lot of their cars and they had business cassettes for bettering your business, self-help tapes, and they knew some people were doing business on cassette machines and they want to listen to the business meetings while they're driving their Lexus. So they left the cassettes in there for quite some time. That's a 2002, and it came with cassette player, CD player, AM, FM radio, and like 12 speakers. It still sounds pretty good. We don't use the cassettes though. Back to the BMW. Back in 1987, they sure built them good in Deutschland. As you can see, made in Germany. Close the door. Sounds solid because it is. And these are so well made, even though it's an old car. Check it out. You can see the guy's done the whole exhaust system over. But when you look under the car, rock solid. It's not rotten out. Everything in it is still solid as can be. Subframe, it's got superficial rust, but it's still solid. And of course, realize one thing. Even though it's an 87, it's still got ABS brakes. The Germans were using them a long time. It has a gauge system that Bosch made for quite some time. Bosch even licensed them out to the Japanese. They're good systems. I realize it's a BMW, so it's a two-step process. Now it's latched. And look, the chrome is still in pretty good shape. I'll start her up. Now, there's nothing like driving a ragtop, and what I love about this is it's mechanical. You just mechanically pick it up and down, simple. Some of the late model BMWs, yeah, really cool technology, automatic button you push. Some of them have metal roofs. When those metal sliding roofs break, it can cost thousands to fix it. It's simple, it's a small car, you can lift it up, put it down, not hard to do. And if you can't figure it out, hey, they were smart enough to put directions, and the directions are still here. They were printed so well, even in the sun, All these years from 87, you can still read the directions. Now I wish it was a manual because the manual 5-speeds are more fun to drive, but it's an automatic, so you go with what it has. You realize one thing about that, it's an automatic, it's much easier to sell. Only a certain amount of people want standard transmissions. Guys that race them and stuff, sure, but really, think about it. This is not a racing car. It has less than 200 horsepower. It's an 87, but it still handles like a dream. And of course, if you're not into the loud noise, you could put mufflers back on it. Shifts very smoothly, even though it's got all those miles. The ZF company in Austria really knows how to make automatic transmissions. That's their bread and butter. Non-race car, it runs perfectly fine on regular unleaded gas. That's what we're running it on now. Contrary to BMW and all their BS about have to use high premium gas, that's baloney. These things run perfectly fine on regular unleaded gas. No backfire, no pinging. It can be a lot of fun. I gotta admit, this little ragtop is a lot of fun to drive around. It's a perfect weekend car anywhere. Even the door cards are in excellent shape. So has the world gone mad? Scotty likes a BMW? Well, an older BMW, you realize one thing. The first car I ever owned was an Opel, and it was a red Opel sports car. So I got this thing for red German cars. First car I ever had. Sometimes I still have dreams about it, right? But understand one thing. If this had been a plain 320 BMW, they're not rare, they're not worth anything. You can pick them up dirt cheap. But if you can find a cabriolet convertible like this, under $5 that runs like this, snap it up, have some fun, and if you want, sell it on and make yourself a profit. Because something like this that still runs that good in a convertible and the top's still good and works fine, believe you me, you can make money on a deal, or you can have a toy to drive for years and years and years, because it doesn't have all the plastic crap that the modern ones do that break over time. It's a solid. Even the bumper's made out of metal. They're fun to drive. Hey, you want a rag top, you can find one cheap and it runs good. This one was purchased from the original owner. You get a lot of people that have them for ages, then they get too old and they can't drive them. You find one of these for that kind of price in this kind of shape, buy it. Even if you think, oh, well, it's kind of fun, I'll use it for a while, or I don't even want it, but I can get it so cheap, I'll polish it up and sell it to somebody else and make a good profit. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Carter Olson 07 says, I have a dented oil pan. Couldn't cause any issues. Got a 2017 Camry. It was dented, but it's not leaking. Car's 21,000 miles on it. You think it'll hurt anything? They got a pretty deep oil pan that goes down. And if your engine's not making any noises, the oil pressure's fine, it probably won't hurt anything at all. If it got dented far enough that it's hitting the bottom of the engine, you would hear it clangity, 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 clang. If, let's see, it knocked off the oil return pipe that is sucking the oil with the metal screen on it, then you'd lose oil pressure. The oil pressure layer would come on. When you're idling, the engine would clang like mad. It's probably done no damage at all. I've seen tons of them that get dented and they work perfectly fine. As long as you see there's no oil leaking and it's dry, it's probably perfectly fine. It's got to go a really far away to hit something and do damage. There's a lot of clearance under there. Any mechanics around you that you trust, go to them and have them listen to it, and I'll tell you, yeah, that's totally normal noise. If you really want to be a fanatic, you could stick a stethoscope on the oil pan and listen to see if you hear any clacking where it's hitting it, but I doubt it. They got a lot of space inside those things, and as long as the oil pressure's fine, it doesn't make any noises, and it's not leaking, it should be totally fine. Birdie says, I got no 6.4 Taurus, it won't start. It stutters when I turn the key, but it won't start. Took the battery and alternator at AutoZone, they said both are good. What could it be? The battery and alternator, okay, probably the bad starter. The starter will stutter when it's wearing out, it won't crank correctly. Now, of course, I don't know what you mean by stutter. Now, if the engine spins over normal, if it does the normal, and it sounds normal, the starter's working, then you have another problem. You can watch my video, Fixing a Car That Cranks But Doesn't Start Up, and you can find everything that it could possibly be. But knowing Fords, a very simple thing to do is take the air filter out. Have somebody spray starting fluid. If they spray it in and it runs fine until they stop spraying and it dies, you probably need a fuel pump. But like I say, my video, Fixing a Car That Cranks But Doesn't Start Up on YouTube, it'll show you every possible thing it can do. But with a little starting fluid, it could easily just be a bad fuel pump. It's an 06, it's an old Taurus, and the fuel pumps only last so long. Omar says, I got a Toyota Yaris, so I turn the AC and turn the blower fan on 2. It takes too long for the compressor to go. When I put it back to 1, it engages and disengages every minute. All right, here's the simple thing to do first. Get a blower motor resistor. When the resistors go bad, it'll work on one speed and not another. And pray that fixes it. That will often fix it. If it still won't work on 2 and 3, but it'll work on 1, then change the blower motor itself. As it gets old, it can overheat and cause that problem. Pray that's it, because if you get it so it does blow at the different speeds after you do that, but the compressor keeps coming on and off and on and off and on and off, then either you're low on refrigerant, which isn't that hard to do, add some refrigerant, or the compressor itself is starting to go out. It is a what? 8-year-old Yaris. The compressor might be going out, but normally it's either blower motor resistor or you're just low on refrigerant. So have the refrigerant checked. I got a lot of videos show you how you can check it, how you can add refrigerant yourself. It's not that hard to do. You can buy kits at an auto parts store for, $30 or so and do it yourself. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.